All right, my darling. So I decided to also publish the whole thing. So in this, it's about 30 minutes. And remember, this is the first time that I recorded a channeling. Um, and this is where a being, a light being, for the first time presents itself with name and everything. So in this channeling, is relatively basic in the sense that she explained concepts that are easy to grasp. So she goes through a lot of information, though. She goes through the intensity of life. She goes through different layers of souls that are helping with the leveling up. She explains the power of awareness, and she also explains how is it that we, well, she kind of mentions why is it that we are in certain situations and how we get out of it. How is it that we are all collaborating, being conscious or not, on how we level up. And so take your time listening to the information. If you need to come back and listen to it several times, please do, because the transmission has a lot of details in it, and it has a lot, even though she's not an angel herself, she works a lot with angels, and it has a lot of angel light codes in it. So when you hear it, you're not only hearing the information that it comes through as in my voice, but there's more information coming in. So take your time, process it, allow the codes to kind of settle in. And one thing that they keep telling me is like drink a lot of water. Our water helps settle those codes, and it helps with the cleansing, healing, and part of the evolution. I cannot stress how important water is for all of us, but especially now. And they're also telling me to make sure that you are aware of your water. Bless your water. Tell the water how much you love it, how thankful you are for it, and just the blessing. Remember, we're mostly water, and a lot of our codes are, transmitted and intensified through it. So drink your water. So open heart and allow the information to come in. Have a blessed day.
My dear child, this moment that you call life is so delicious. This is why life is so short, because it's so intense. It's so delicious, all of it, all the frequencies that can be in one place, moving from side to side, from 3 to 4 to 6 to 8. All the different frequencies and densities and emotions. That's why things are organized in a linear form, and what you call a life in the grand scheme of things are just nothing but a blip, a moment. And you go at it again and again, and every single time it's like what you call a roller coaster. And in that roller coaster you go and you feel all the emotions, but it only lasts a few seconds, a few moments, because anything more than that, and first of all, then others wouldn't play. And second, is so much, it's so big, the energy associated with it, the expenditure of energy, the pressure of it, it's maybe a little bit too much. It's already a little bit too much for some of you. Well, then it has to be short, but then you have the option to say again. And in this time, you decide to sit in a different seat. have your hands in a different position. Hold on now, hold on. It's so yummy. And I have enjoyed it several times. Now I'm back because I decided that at this point it will be a different flavor, if you might say, to just help in this great transformation, this metamorphosis, this new era. It's good for all of us, child, all of us. And my brave warriors like yourself that are there holding the energy. You, my dears, are the ones that are down in the ground, literally. Literally holding the planet and literally lifting it, moving it, changing it. If you want to see it as a, what you might call it, an army, yes, those organizations that you have, very masculine, by the way. There, you have some soldiers in the ground, yes. But remember, you have to have that organizational support that has a goal in mind. They know the plan is good for all. It's good for a territory. It could be a good for a country. It could be a good for the organization. In this case, it is a good for all, literally, in this universe and beyond. This expression of omnipresence that may be associated with different galaxy, if you want to see it from a human perspective. Depends on what's going on right now here, child. And we need different levels of support. So we have all decided, the ones that were here, we have decided to collaborate in different ways. We have our brave soldiers that have decided to be in that density, holding, sacrificing if you want. It's not really a sacrifice, but it is a different type of energy needed. Going blind, not knowing what's going on, voluntarily deciding to do so with honor and for true love. This is the expression of love, the one that means that the right is going to be short and intense and what humans may say difficult, even though we know it's only for a moment, but it's enough to have a ripple wave effect of energy that will create worlds. I mean that literally, child. It creates worlds, it creates densities. And this experiment from oneness is how we play, how we find joy, how we express different levels of frequencies. You may call it life. You may call it life. Even though what you call life has different ways of showing all nothing but frequencies and all but frequencies. All is frequencies. That word just. Interesting how humans have decided to use that word just. When I say the word just here, it's interesting. As a communicator and a person that has been in your density, I mean the word just meaning only this. Some people may like to think of just like something with not so much importance. Oh, oh. But the thing is that the only thing that's there is frequencies, movement of energy in different ways. Interesting also that in modern America and the modern language of English, you use that word just also as a derivative of justice, balance. The movement of energies that are reflected in actions based on moral standards. Interesting, the concept of moral standards, isn't it now? The rules and regulations on how you should behave. Well, you see, my dear child, yes, there are need of rules, but our rules that we use are for the purpose associated with the world, the creations, the manipulation of frequencies in an order that is good. But if you think about it, when you work from the oneness, the uniqueness, the unconditional love that is the oneness, there's no rules needed. Now, don't get me confused. Frequencies will, energy will express in different ways. You like to give it a connotation. Again, we go to this concept of morals. Good, bad. A lot of people like to see the world in only two. Good, bad, high, low. Swing. But the reality is that there's an endless amount on how those frequencies show themselves, isn't it? And that is the whole point, my child. There's no limit. Everything should, can be, and therefore will be expressed. But it comes from oneness. It comes from what you call love, unlimited. The need for rules and the idea of justice and concepts as such is a way of keeping things in a little tidy box. Now that box has been used in different ways throughout the centuries. In the human reality, having a set of rules on how to move will allow you to then maybe have a point of comparison of things that you are able to accomplish within this density versus the unlimited possibilities. It's kind of like trying to understand from a human brain what you may call God, but that was good, needed at one point in your reality. Because you see, my child, what we are all cooperating right now, what we're all working together right now, you on the ground and us around supporting you, is so that box could be expanded broken, reshaped, and reformed because in this new little game, if you want to call it like that, in this experiment, this movement, in this swing of things. Now, my child, it's not just good, bad, high, low, swing one side and the other. Now we have more points, more possibilities. The idea that things are unlimited, that humans are unlimited, that we are unlimited, starts to blur. We are more, what you say, in your world, in your density, aware, more understanding. Now we are coming from the point of view of feeling. Now we understand that knowing is part of being. It's an action that doesn't come from just the confines of a part of that human brain, which is like a little antenna. It's delicious. It's a beautiful place. The human brain. Ugh. Don't you love it? Don't you love it? How expressions can be. Lord, think about it, child. Oh, the expansiveness within that little tiny little capsule you call brain. How it works. How it's literally a miniature representation of other bigger things. If you want to see it in scales, of course. Because we are unlimited. And how it connects, how the energies, how those dendrites and those neurons and all those things, how they change, how they change, how they are, what you call it, child? Plasticity. Oh, Lord. Now, for a long time, as part of this experiment, you use your brain in a limited way, and also a lot of the understanding of what is around you came from that part. Now, please remember, child, this is not true for everyone. There was a great effort from certain beings to control the human mind and control the human spirit, control life and expressions, and the harvest the energy that comes from each and one and single one of. Think about it, my child. We are all a part of the divine. Divine is unlimited. We are the expression of, and therefore we all have an unlimited amount of energy, and they're trying to harvest that. They're trying to create their own worlds, but oh, funny. It is so delicious, isn't it? Well, this has been only in a blip of time, let's say. History in the last 1,000 years is nothing but a second, a millisecond, a fraction of a millisecond. And they're trying to, how would you say, try to convince certain people that the world can only be understood through the brain, and because the way that they teach you how to use the brain is limited, and they're trying to convince you, oh, you only use certain percent of your brain, therefore you are very limited on what you can do and not do. There are groups like the first peoples and others before what we call modern times that knew, had a good idea. They knew where they came from. They were connected. They were connected to source. They were connected to their history. if you want to call it like that. They were aware and they are aware. There's still some aware. They are aware of the concept of time and how humans play with time versus other ways of seeing time. You see, there's just many possibilities on how to measure, use, and manipulate time at this. There's time and dimensions. This is a game. It's part of the game, and they all make very interesting games. Now, some of your first peoples, and that is a brilliant way of seeing it, isn't it? So, some of your first peoples and others beyond that, before that, if you want to see it on linear times, they still held their memories of where they came from. Their language allows you to also play with the reality of different dimensions, manipulation of time, and the connection with the earth, because this density is you want to call it anchored. It's anchored through Mother Earth. I love that name. That feminine. I've always liked to go as a feminine. Even though it may not always be in a male or female body, but I've always loved to experience life from a feminine energy. Well, Mother Earth, I love it. Mother Earth, because it's that energy of creation. So, Mother Earth, if you want to call it like that, she is the anchor. She is the anchor, my child, of memories and possibilities and the creation. The creation. So, your first peoples, they had that knowledge. But you know what, my child? The true knowledge that they had is that they understood that knowledge doesn't come from the brain. It came from connection. Connection to your frequencies, emotions, of listening to those feelings, to the vibrations and how that energy moves, and that knowing, being is a combination of all. Yes, the brain is a beautiful little antenna in a processing center, if you want to see it, but it's only one out of few. And only using one, like the brain, well, it happens when you only use part of the total sum. And then, of course, you're going to be limited. So we're going to go back to that idea of that little box. So now, my dear child, what's happening is that we're all working together because that little box that let's call them some were trying to keep you inside of, just to tell you, you see, you can only operate from those little spaces over here. You're no more than this. You cannot be more. You cannot go out. Because outside there's nothing for you. It's part of the game. And I am so, oh my goodness, if you want to call it like that. So happy. I do enjoy happiness. No less than sadness, by the way. They're all delicious, but happiness makes you tingle, doesn't it? Well, funny, if you want to call it. They wanted to convince humans because then they can keep them like a herd, controlled, harvesting that energy and keeping you low. Keeping you low because then, you know why you were low? They were, oh my God, I know your person knows Spanish too, so it's funny that she wants to translate the concept as chupa. How funny is she? She's like draining, yes, draining that energy. Therefore, you stay low, and I don't want to use the word submissive, but easier to control. But yes, as I say, there's others. There's many that have kept the truth of what we are. And by we, I literally mean we. I mean everything that it is. And they have kept in the periphery within this area outside. Some of them were inside the box, pushing that lid open, if you want to see it like that. Helping others, like literally go higher, maybe breathe through that little ventilation that is opening, expanding, and pushing and opening and pushing and pressure and collectively. Now it's time. Now it's time to pop that box open because the box is an illusion. You know, the image that your friend there, Elena, has shown as it's a very interesting. You know those boxes that have a bow, but the bow is keeping the box, the concept of what you think is a box together, but the moment you pull on that string, it just flattens out and opens and allows everything that is in. Now, to see the truth that there's no limits, that there's a whole room. Now, you know, that was a little box in the center. Well, what some wanted to shape into a box, but it was just an illusion, you see? And right now what's happening, my dear child, is that we're all together creating this huge, let's say a hand, that is like pulling. Yes, I love that, pulling that string, that bow, that some people may have seen as a beautiful thing, but only those that created that box. Because what's inside cannot be contained. There's only a certain thing, certain time, certain glimpse that could be there. And then now it's open. We're pulling and it's finally opening up. And dissolving. And now we are all aware of the expansiveness of where we are, where we were, where we'll be. Because you see, now you can move around, you can do things, you can see things, you can feel things, you can breathe, you can move, you can open your arms, you can fly. You can go above, under, and around. You can swing. You can swing in between multitude of levels. And that, my dear child, that's what's happening. So, the idea of just comes back there. You both think that you were just a box, but the box is part of the all. You thought that it was just human to be confined and limited. But you see, it's not. the whole truth. You thought that it was just because those boxes, the walls, those limits were imposed by make believe rules on what is to be human, how to behave, how to think, where to think from, which is what you call it, 10% of your brain. Isn't that funny if we're using words? And the energy moves galaxies and just light and sound and space that contains all the space within the manifested dense energy in different frequencies holds all the possibilities. And this is what we're working. We're out here helping you pull that string, my dear old child, and you are inside, quote unquote. I love that phrase. You're inside that box, pushing out.